Hi everyone, I'm Maddie.
And I'm Amber.
And we're
Witches Talking Tarot.
And today we're going to be diving into modern day sacrifices. Ooh, but it's not what you think. Yeah. We're not talking cats, cattle, or kids.
I was like, human sacrifice. But no, that's not where we're going. But yes, that's where we're going.
Exactly. So, when it comes to sacrifice in the modern world, we're going to be discussing self-sacrifice, spiritual sacrifice, and
the sacrifice of the planet we live on.
That was sad.
Everybody was like, yeah,
of course. So, would you like to start with self-sacrifice? One of the things that Amber brought up, and we both know this personally, is the sacrifice of parenthood. I'm going to say parenthood, not just motherhood, but since we're both mothers, we're probably going to be talking predominantly about the sacrifice of motherhood because that's what we relate to the most.
And societally speaking, granted, like there are different sacrifices that are brought to light among men these days, but traditionally it's been that women had to make a choice between being able to have children and a marriage and a family life or
a job,
having a career.
Yes.
Right. Because you couldn't have both. And then when you did have both, more is expected from you, so you have to sacrifice your own time, your own pleasure, your own leisure, so that you can not only have a family who sees you as a matriarch, and I don't mean that like you're revered as a matriarch, but what I mean is you don't have a family that's like, oh, mom's never around because she's always working. You know what I mean? Like you have to do 10 times as much to have just the same as quote unquote a man would. And our male listeners, this is not a slight against you. Like it's definitely a 50s stereotype that I'm just talking about that didn't go away in the 80s and it didn't really go away in the 90s. It just evolved where women were expected to do it all. And men are expected to do it all as well, but then there's the other aspect of
and that's why I say parenthood versus versus motherhood. Like
some men still have the ideal that you might have a job, but you also have to take care of
and some men have this.
Not everybody does. And like I know like you guys that are listening, like Tim and the Neatcast guys and Jer and Mike and Zach and Dustin, like you guys are wonderful. And I don't know any of other male listeners by name. Oh, Hank, Harry, Death by DVD, whatever. You guys aren't the guys I'm talking about with the 1950s mentality. That's all I'm trying to fucking say. And I'm going to remove my foot from my mouth while Maddie talks.
So with the sacrifices of parenthood in modern day, men have had to sacrifice. They've had to sacrifice being parents, being around
being a role model.
Exactly.
To their kids.
Exactly. They've had to go outside and cut wood or whatever manly shit. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. We're trying not to be rude. But seriously, they did. They had to go outside and cut wood or work or do whatever. And
you know what?
They were away.
Time when they were going outside to cut wood, they take the kids with them and teach them.
Yes.
But now it's like, let's go back to the 1950s stereotype. The man worked all day. He came home. He punished the kids for the wife because she was like, you just wait till your father gets here. And then he had a drink and he enjoyed life while the mother continued mothering. And he was a man, quote unquote. And if you did play with your kids, you were seen as like softer.
Yes.
If you canceled golf time with the guys to spend family time with your family, you were seen as not the go-getter.
Yeah.
You couldn't advance in your career.
Exactly.
So you know what? I revert to everything Maddie's saying because this is my sexism coming out, where I only think about the momness from the 1950s.
But we are women.
And not the dadness.
We both identify as women, and this is our experience. So it's nothing personal. It's just we're speaking from our own experience. As a stay-at-home mother, I totally understand what you're saying because I had to sacrifice my shop. Peace, love, and tea leaves. I loved it so much, and I was very devastated when I had to do that. But I have 2 kids.
I had to sacrifice all of my socializing to the point that I
don't go anywhere.
Stay-at-home mom,
yeah,
I almost became agoraphobic when I loved errand day. I loved
Love
getting
it.
out.
I still
going
fucking do.
grocery
I do.
shopping, going to Blockbuster and getting videos for the week.
Mhm.
But I became so almost agoraphobic, like literally. My heart would flutter and race if I had to make eye contact with another person. My hands would shake when I was paying if somebody tried to talk to me.
Mhm.
Like, I legit almost lost myself.
So
in
you're sacrificing
isolation.
your mental health.
Yes.
So there's just so much
Well, 'cause
sacrifice.
and it's all connected. So sacrificing my social life to be at home with my kids.
Uh-huh.
And then we didn't have vehicle for me to like get out except on his days off.
Right.
And it was easier to get out without the kids and stuff like that.
Right.
Whatever. Like I totally take my kids grocery shopping with me.
But
all
you're
the time,
still running
but
errands for
yeah,
the family. You're still
right.
working.
Exactly. But like because I was no longer around people other than the people I lived in the house with, I became so uncomfortable with interactions with other people. And I sacrificed a piece of myself.
Yeah.
Like people that know me now, like they can't understand what I was like back then, but it wasn't the same person.
Well, and then, moving out of the parenthood modern sacrifice, we're also society is forcing us to sacrifice.
Yep.
This is the bad. We're talking about the bad first, I guess. But society is forcing us to sacrifice our connection with the Mother Earth.
Oh, absolutely.
Our connection with spirituality. I mean,
and our connection with our choice on how to live our lives. Like the society, if you live in America, the society in which Maddie and I live, you are literally in debt from the moment you're conceived as a person.
Literally, what the fuck? I
Literally.
saw the funniest TikTok of this guy, and he's handing this newborn baby a fucking bill, and he's like, "This is in your name."
Yeah. Seriously though, like we are handed. It is just a very, very, very extensive way of keeping everybody down. I'm not going to use the S word so it doesn't get flagged or anything, but like our society forces us to have to work. You can't choose to be an artist that doesn't work. Unless you find an outlet to make enough money to make a living. You can't live off the land because they won't let you. It's not legal. You are not supposed to collect rainwater. You can't just figure out your own way of getting solar energy. You have to go through a company and pay them money.
All right, I'm going to bitch for a second.
Yeah, please. Go for it.
Like you said, people are forced to sacrifice. I don't want to use the term hobbies. I'm going to use the term passions. They are forced. You can't make a living being a full-time author. You can't make a living being a full-time, artist unless you are just, and it's not even if you're good or if you are so good or not. It's if people want to pay for it. So the way that the society that Amber and I live, is they want content and they want it now, and they don't want to pay you for it.
Right. And
so you are sacrificing.
Right. Because you can totally live like that, right? Except how are you going to pay your own bills? Well, you got to work.
How are you going to feed yourself?
Sacrifice your
art
other time to put your art out there or whatever, like that content that everybody is always expecting. And totally realize the irony while we're creating content on a regular basis.
We have to sacrifice a lot. I mean, my kids are 1 and 3 almost, and I'm leaving them with their dad so that I can record these podcast episodes once a week. And that may not seem like a lot to people, but I mean, I am sacrificing time with my children, and my husband is sacrificing his days off so that we can create this content. And we're having to schedule around this, so we're sacrificing different times that we could use. So I would say that we do sacrifice to make this this weekly content.
Right. And my point was like not complaining about what we're making right now. But at the same time, it's literally giving up time to do these things, right? And in some way, most people expect some kind of recompense, but when you get nothing back for it, then it is a sacrifice. It's a willing sacrifice.
Like Odin. Check out our last episode.
And it's for the betterment of humanity because we want to get out there the words that maybe wouldn't otherwise get out there. I mean, like, not to toot our own horn, But we've been the number one spirituality podcast on Good Pods for 90% of the time that we've been on there for the past 2
Which
years.
is so awesome, which means people are hearing these words and they're learning.
Exactly.
And
they're
that
choosing to spend
yes, so we're
sacrifice their time
Yep.
to learn from us. So in that way, we are getting a recompense.
We
of
are
our time.
sacrificing for
But
knowledge.
we are sacrificing for knowledge, just like
So
coding.
I do just want to say,
So that is a good sacrifice.
yes, it is. And I do just want to say, if you want to support us, you can check us out on Patreon.
Yes.
Join and become a patron, and you can get some free extra. Well, it's not free, but you can get
Right.
some extra
Extra
content,
for your
including
support.
extra episodes without commercials.
That's right. No commercials, no ads, no. And they come out early for the patrons.
Yes.
The patrons get them at least a day early. Like,
Mm-hmm.
as long as we're able to record. The patrons get them as early as possible based on our recording schedule.
Yeah.
Usually it's 2 days early. If we don't record until Sunday night, I can't post it until at least Sunday night, which is not a full 2 days, but usually.
It's
I
hard,
try.
guys, because we're sacrificing to
Right,
do all
exactly.
this.
Like, here's the thing, because we are working parents in America, so we only have a finite amount of time of free time.
Mhm.
Our spouses have a finite time
Yes.
of free time. And we have children and we have vehicle things and we just, it's a juggling act. And that is a good way to just define a
Yes.
lot of the modern day sacrifices that are smaller. It's a
Mm-hmm.
juggling act. Like, one of my favorite clips out of Roseanne
Mm-hmm.
is when she and Dan are paying the bills. And she's like, okay, we're going to put the water bill in the electric bill envelope. And we're going to put the electric bill in the water bill envelope. So then they'll each get the wrong bill. So that buys us like 2 extra weeks. And we're going to actually pay this one. And then the phone bill, we're going to say got lost in the mail. And this buys us enough time
Yeah.
to have the money to pay. And that fucking describes the American hustle, guy.
No, straight up.
Straight up. And it is a sacrifice. Like the term robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Mm.
Living paycheck to paycheck, living hand to mouth. These are all things that Americans regularly deal with, and it is sacrifice that our society has forced upon us because of the way that society is set up for the general American,
Yeah.
because of the structure of the working class in general, I would say.
I would think so.
Yeah, but that sacrifice, it extends to your family.
It does.
It extends
It
to
extends to
your
your
friends.
it extends to your family, to your friends, to your crafting, to your spirituality, because if you're so busy, then you can't practice your spirituality. It extends to
Exactly.
yourself. But there is something. Are we done with that topic so I can okay.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, the self-sacrifice is where it comes in to give to your deities. So, like, when you feel like you're not giving your deities enough, when you're sacrificing your time to acknowledge them, that is a willing sacrifice. And that is, it's got to be acceptable in this day and age.
Oh, I think so. I think so.
And that is-
Absolutely.
yeah, we can move on.
Well,
from that.
and which brings me to the positive sacrifices that we're making nowadays, or that we can make nowadays. Because we talked all about the fucking shitty negative sacrifices that we're pretty much forced into. Let's talk about willing sacrifices, like you brought it up. We are willingly sacrificing our time to create this content for you guys,
Because
so
we
that we
wanna
want to share knowledge and share like our thoughts on certain things. We are willingly sacrificing. I'm trying to think of an example.
We're willingly sacrificing our time, not on Witches Talking Tarot, but in our other projects of Peace, Love, and Tea Leaves.
I
and
know
Families
for a
of Color
fact that
to create content and help teach people there as well.
Well, and I know for a fact that you willingly sacrifice a lot to run PPD, and that's a whole organization for the community. That's a huge
Excuse me.
pagan organization. It's international, correct? And it's Pagan Pride Day, and it's all about getting together and getting people who are open-minded, or people who share similar beliefs or fall into that pagan, Wiccan, witchcraft category. It's getting everybody together, and it's so important. But to be able to throw that, I know you have to have so many sacrifices to be able to put that up.
Yeah, quite often I have to put up a fair amount of my own money, which is then a sacrifice my entire family makes,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Dude, I hope
Like-
we are not coming off as narcissistic in this episode because we are talking a
We're
lot
just
about our
using-
own.
yeah,
we're just using it
our
as
own
examples.
experiences to relate.
Right. So I
what you
apologize.
all
We're not
do.
just like, wow, we are such good people. I am
Please
not
don't
trying.
misunderstand.
Yeah.
That's not what we meant this to be
I know.
about,
I
but
realized.
yeah.
I was like, I hope
But
we're.
like, okay, when you think about it, if you are a person who goes to your local Pagan Pride Day, or you go to your local LGBTQ Pride Day, there are people that organize that. It doesn't just happen for
Right.
you to be able to go to these things for free, because when it's a community function like that, there's never a cover charge, you know.
Mhm.
Like, this is something that has been organized for your entertainment, for you to go and be able to blow off some steam from all the sacrifices
and
you
to
make,
share pride in
And-
your beliefs and
yes.
who you are.
and to meet the rest of the people in your community and know who you can safely interact with.
Mhm.
Because in both the pagan and the LGBTQ communities, you don't always know who you can safely be honest with.
Mhm.
You really don't. So, like, these days allow people to find members of the community that they can connect with. And the people putting them on, they spend their own time, they spend their own money, they create connections, okay? So, like, so there's the sacrifice part, right? Like, my time, my money,
Your effort.
my effort. But here's the reward, okay? So, like, just so that everybody doesn't, like, think we're still
Well, and that's where we're going with the positive
Yes,
aspects, because there is
exactly.
so much
Because
reward.
there is so much reward. I have created so many connections between people. I have been given the privilege of meeting a lot of people that I probably would never have met if I wasn't doing what I do. But the connections of seeing people become friends that maybe wouldn't have met outside of this setting, the connections that happen in relationships in general, the connections that happen for businesses, and now members of my community can thrive in their lives and they can sacrifice less because they are now able to thrive by having this place where they can make those connections that will last them throughout the year. And then the next year and the next year, so on and so forth. Like, there's that one individual that I won't name by name, but they became, like, not just locally famous, but like low-key famous after I met them at PPD and was like, hey, you want to come out next year and, like, sell your goods here? And they did. And then they got popular. And now they're, like, charging a lot for their work. And, like, their connections all started at Pagan Pride Day. And, like, I don't take credit for that. But what I do is I see the possibilities that place and that setting allows for a lot of people to thrive. And to me, that's a beautiful thing, because the more a community thrives, the more involved the citizens want to become, and then the more the community will thrive from that, and then the more the citizens will prosper, and the more everybody prospers from that situation, the more the ripple effect will take place. And that's where self-sacrifice really counts, is the stone that is dropped into the lake. It causes not one ripple, but many. And the ripples aren't local to where the stone is dropped. The ripples go all the way through the water as far as the connections can reach. And that's kind of exactly the point of self-sacrifice. And I think that's a beautiful thing, personally.
And I mean, if you can't throw like a super huge thing to sacrifice, you can leave your fucking quarter in the fucking cart,
Aldi cart.
the Aldi cart at, you know, Aldi. I mean,
You can start a
you're
ripple,
sacrificing
exactly.
your
Yes, you are.
quarter, but like you said, you could start a ripple. I know for a fact that I often leave my quarter in, or I offer my cart to another person, and they'll either offer me their coin, which I never really take, but then they'll give it to somebody else.
Exactly. Or they'll put it in anyway because they remembered. And we all, like, when you start shopping at Aldi, it's hard to remember that quarter.
It is,
And it's
yes.
like, it's a little thing that happens.
Right, and
you
it's
know?
just a little ripple effect. Just something
Exactly.
like that. A
Like,
small
have you ever
sacrifice
seen
for
the
a
movie
ripple
Pay It
effect.
Forward?
Yeah, fuck that movie. I'm pretty sure it's sad at the end.
It is. But
Yes, I
like,
have seen that
that
movie.
movie, like, I saw that when I was.
I mean, it's good. I didn't mean fuck that movie. I
Yeah,
just
but
mean
it's
it's
so
fucking
sad.
sad.
But like, that is. I don't live my life by that motto, but at the same time, like, that is how.
Sir,
I live
if
my
you
life,
if you are
because
able to, you should
Right.
pay it forward.
you should, and if you're not able to pay it forward, you should definitely pay it back, because if everybody had the mentality of helping others,
No matter the
better
small
place.
small
Small.
sacrifice,
quarter.
because you know,
It's a quarter.
because like you said, you don't want. There's a thing that you say often. Was it about your grandfather? If so, and
Oh, okay, yes. So
I do want to
my-
mention
yeah.
self-preservation as well as
yes.
self-sacrifice.
Okay, so one of the only things my grandmother ever said to me about my grandfather, they were divorced like when my dad was a teenager. So, okay. One of the only things she ever said about my grandfather was, if Bob had $5 in his pocket and his friend needed money, his friend would have $5 and he would come home empty-handed. And that never left me, because my view is, if I've got a loaf of bread and peanut butter, we can each have half a loaf of bread and peanut butter sandwiches. But I can't let my family go without so that I can take care of your family. Like, it's got to be even. If I got $5, I'll give you $3. I'll give you $2.50. But I can't go home empty-handed and let my family suffer so that you can prosper. But I want us to each at least be equal.
Exactly. So like, while we're talking about self-sacrifice, we don't want you to completely fall on your sword and just sacrifice your own everything, but little things like the quarter. I'm trying to think of what else.
Like, for the betterment of humanity. Like, okay,
Bring recyclable bags, okay? It's a
Bring
little
reusable
sacrifice
bags.
because you're probably going to get bitched at by the checkout lady,
Right.
or if you're checking out yourself, it's a little more awkward and
something,
annoying or
maybe.
whatever.
Yeah.
But it's that tiny
better for the
sacrifice, better
environment,
for the
yeah.
community.
Yeah. Or like, okay, small ways you can sacrifice. You're working on landscaping. Look up native plants. Look up native plants and see which native plants you like. That's maybe you really, really, really want this one thing in your yard, but like Spanish moss, it's an invasive species. So like, or not Spanish moss, kudzu.
Oh God, don't.
Yeah.
Do not
exactly.
do it
So,
with
like,
kudzu. I'm sorry. I've heard horror stories of kudzu.
Yeah. Like, I mean, kudzu took over the South. Like,
Oh yeah, my grandpa lived in Tennessee. He grew up and was raised in Tennessee. I have heard horror stories of kudzu.
Corey talks shit on kudzu.
Oh, yeah.
We don't even live there anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Like, so like that's a small sacrifice, right? Like, you're not getting exactly what you want, but you still get to change your landscaping, and you're doing a better job for the environment because your local pollinators and your local wildlife are going to appreciate these native plants much better. And the native plants are going to help your local earth anyway, because like I recently saw this thing that was like so cool, and it was this picture of like a local conservation center, and it showed the plants and their root systems, right? And it says this is why you should use native plants.
Oh,
because they help
exactly,
stop
yes.
erosion and all this other stuff, right? And it's like, so it's a tiny sacrifice. You're not getting exactly what you want. You're not getting that fancy shrub that you were thinking about. You're gonna get a native plant instead that is equal to that other plant. It's a small sacrifice you're making. You're not getting exactly what you want, but everybody's going to benefit from your choice. Probably including the person that propagated the plant, because if it's a local plant, it's a native plant, like, then somebody local probably grew it. Probably, not definitely, but probably, right? So like now you're doing, like, because you made this one little small sacrifice, that ripple effect is huge. And it's going to be even seen in places that you didn't even think about. Like the person who grew the plant in the first place is actually a local nursery, and you just help them out. And now they can provide more native plants to other people in your area. And now more people are buying native plants because this small nursery was able to advertise. And like it's a ripple effect that helps everything close to you and farther away. And the more little things you do, the bigger your ripple becomes. Like, I'm sorry, this feeds so much into my morning witch that I recorded like 2 days ago. And I literally ended it by saying, like, because it was on Friday. Oh, so this was yesterday's video. And I was like, Fridays for the weavers. Like, they don't weave with just one thread. They weave a tapestry of all of our threads. And so together we make a picture. So, like, what's that picture going to be? And what will your part in it be? You know what I mean? And I think that's what this episode's really all about, is what kind of picture are we going to paint in the end? And what part will we each play in that picture? You know, because, like, here's the thing. If we all have a mentality of, like, somebody else, something else, some other way, nothing will ever change. Nothing will ever get better. And the painting or the picture that we're all a part of will be kind of drab, and it'll be kind of sad, it'll be kind of depressing. Is that what we want?
Absolutely not. Which is why we should make little sacrifices here and there for the better of humanity. And I'm curious, do you guys make little sacrifices? And what are they? Like I said, I like to I'm not even gonna fucking compare PPD to my fucking putting and leaving the quarter in the Aldi's bag. But I have been using my reusable bags as well at Walmart and other things like that. You know,
everything
and as a mother, we sacrifice every day.
Every day. Everything matters, though, because, like, I mean, there is no comparison. Like, that's the thing is, like, because I have people that help me with PPD. Like, I don't do it all by myself, even if, like, people that help me say that I don't let them help enough. But you'd have to join our Patreon to fully understand that one. Anyway, because, like, that goes hand in hand. I'm not going to ruin the Patreon episode. But, like, every little bit matters. It really does. So, like, even if you leave the quarter in the Aldi cart, you want to do more. And you like going to your local Pride, and you want to be a member of your community. Reach out. Every Pride, whether it's pagan Pride, LGBTQ Pride, everybody, they can use extra volunteers. Like, if you want to help out, like, there's help to be
sacrifice some of your time.
Little sacrifices. Yeah. Go pick up trash. You're not busy on a really, really nice day. Go pick up trash. It's a little sacrifice. You buy a pair of rubber gloves. I'm just saying, like, there's little ways that everybody could do, like, a something. And you know what? Okay. Maybe, like, the only thing that you think you can do is monetary sacrifice. Like, there's all sorts of local community things that you could put a little bit of money into, and maybe a big organization won't appreciate your $5, but a little one
absolutely
makes a difference. You know what I mean? Or you're like, I'm all about indie creators. There's actually a platform for that. It's called Patreon. Go see who you're interested in. Like,
speaking of Patreon, hey Melissa.
Hey Victoria.
Hey Pam.
Hey Death by DVD.
Thanks for supporting us.
We appreciate your little sacrifice every month. We know what it means because we make money and spend money too.
If you're interested in following us on X, you can do so at Classiest Witches.
Because we're the classiest witches, you know. And you can also find us anywhere on the socials at Witches Talking Tarot, such as Instagram and Facebook. And I swear we'll get on Threads. It keeps telling us to get on Threads, and X is not going anywhere good. The Tesla blew up. I mean, I'm just saying.
So if you take anything from this episode, just consider a little bit of sacrifice, whether it's of your time or whatever it is you can give to the community. Thanks for sitting with us for a spell. Bye.